Hi everyone, this is Sherry, aka Mothership. Um, so I'm here with another story that I felt like was pretty important to um talk about. I have some other stories on my channel, and for whatever reason tonight this one felt important for me to do. It's like where we live, it's about almost 4:30 in the morning right now. So anyway, at least it's kind of quiet here. Everyone's sleeping pretty much, and the dogs and animals and stuff are all sleeping. So, um, anyway, in this story, any of you who've listened to any of my other videos that are about my two daughters, then you know my youngest daughter, Sarah. She has a lot of um, multiple disabilities and things, and you know, she's unique. She has an unknown syndrome, so she's like literally the only person on this planet with whatever she has. Genetically, she is marked as a normal female. So, genetically, she's a perfect female. But, she is who she is. So, anyway, this was back when Sarah was a baby. We had one of those playpens, but the smaller kind, like the pack and plays. Because our house was kind of small. We didn't really have room for like one of those big square playpens to be sitting in the living room or anything. So this one was in the living room, but it's the small rectangle kind. Like I said, I think they're called like pack and plays. But we had it fit perfect in our one corner, like right next to where the entertainment stand was and stuff for the television. And so it was like the perfect fit. Like it fit in there perfectly, really. Like nobody could trip over it or anything. Anyway, the one afternoon she was taking a nap, and I put her down in her pack and play because I was in the living room. So instead of taking her in, to put her in her crib and stuff, I just left her in her little pack and play to sleep. And my other daughter was already taking a nap in her room. So anyway, I'll get to the story now. So she's sleeping in there, and I was watching some TV, and all of a sudden I heard God's voice, and he told me, go to your neighbors and borrow a cup of milk. And I literally said out loud, I'm like, what? And again, he said, go to your neighbors and borrow a cup of milk. And I was just like, what? I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I cannot do that. I have a whole gallon of milk in my refrigerator. And I have never met my neighbors yet, mind you. Like, I have seen them, like, if I was taking one of the girls out for something or we had to go somewhere, like, I would see my neighbors in their yard, like, doing, like, little gardening stuff or whatever. They were elderly, but I have never met them before. So I was just like, if I go up there, she's going to be like, oh, so you ran out of milk, huh? And I would have to be like, well, no, I have a whole gallon of milk in my refrigerator, but I wanted to borrow a cup of milk from you. All these things were like going through my mind, and I'm actually like stating them out loud to God. I'm like, if I go up there, whatever she asks or says, I really felt like it's going to boil down to me having to tell her that, no, I have a whole gallon of milk in my refrigerator. I just want to borrow a cup from you. And I really felt like it was going to make me look like a total, like, cuckoo bird, like I didn't feel comfortable with that at all. I felt like, that'd be like really embarrassing to meet your neighbors for the first time, and then, you end up having to tell them something that, really makes you look like you're kind of crazy or whatever. So I just definitely was not comfortable with the situation. So anyway, I just basically told God, like, no, I'm just not gonna do that. I can't. I just can't. I said, like, you know, but you send someone else to get a cup, like borrow a cup of milk from her or him, because it's a elderly couple. So anyway, I just felt crazy about the situation. So that was like my response was just a no. Like I can't do that. It's too embarrassing, too cuckoo-ish. And I'm just, it's not really the first impression that I would want to make if I was meeting my neighbor, like for the first time. So anyway, to make a long story short, it wasn't real long after that, Sarah had woke up from her nap. And she could sit herself up at this point. She was, despite all of her disabilities, I mean, she was just so intelligent and just, she defied all the doctors. And I know that's from God. I mean, God was really with her. The little things that the doctors said she'll never do or she'll never be able to do, she really, ended up being able to do a lot. So, I mean, and nowadays she is gaming online. She live streamed. She hasn't live streamed in a while, but she was live streaming like every day. She's always on her friends' live streams, and and both my girls still live with me. And if you haven't watched any of my other videos, Sarah is 29 years old now, and my daughter Shirley is 35 years old, and they've both been like in like wheelchairs all their lives and stuff. But anyway, make a long story short. So anyway, she wakes up from her nap. She sits up, and there's toys in her playpen and stuff, of course. So she's content. Anyway, somehow she like suddenly fell forward, and she started screaming. Now, where her playpen is, like I said, it fits perfect, like where the entertainment center is and stuff, right there in this corner, but it's away from the wall. So, if she falls or whatever, where the netting is, it doesn't reach the walls or the entertainment center. Like, so she can't get hurt, put it that way. Well, anyway, when she fell forward, she just started screaming. And I ran over and, like, I like, picked her up to look at her and stuff, and here, immediately, there was this big lump on the top of her head. I mean, a big lump. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what? So anyway, I'm like, how did this even happen? Well, anyway, so I'm holding her now in my one arm. She's, screaming, crying. And here, behind her playpen, between the netting and the wall, somehow there was a big, giant piece of wood. It was like a 4x4. And it was, say, like, almost like maybe like a foot long. So it was like on the floor, straight up and down in the air, between her playpen and the wall. To this day, I have no idea how that got there. That was like just so crazy. So anyway, this gets even crazier because now, of course I pulled the 4x4 out of there, and I had to put her back down in her playpen because I wanted to get some ice right away for her head. So I went to the refrigerator, I opened the freezer door, and I just stood there with like my eyes wide open. I'm like, again, like, what? Like, what is going on here? All of my food, like the frozen vegetables, frozen meats, all of it was completely gone. And I always had 4 ice cube trays in my fridge. So I always had 2 on the one side and 2 on the other side, like one on top of another and then one on top of another. So one on the left hand, one on the right hand, and always on the bottom, because we had like a little rack shelf in there. So I could put stuff on top. And there's plenty of room to put stuff between the ice cube trays, behind the ice cube trays. So so anyway, my food was gone. all four of my ice cube trays were completely empty. And I have to tell you, like, I'm definitely not a perfect mother or a perfect housekeeper, because I mean, I was a housewife for like over 30 years here. Not at that point, of course, because my kids were younger. But anyway, make a long story short again, I would have never had empty ice cube trays in my freezer. Like, I always, like, kept up with everything. Anyway, so now I'm in a thing like, oh my God, I have absolutely no ice, like no frozen vegetables, nothing that I can possibly put on my daughter's head for this lump. So I had to run up to my neighbor's house, the neighbor that I was supposed to go borrow a cup of milk to start with. So anyway, I run up to their house, which it's a hill here, so I had to run up the hill. I'm like banging on their back door, and the husband answered, and I'm like frantic at this point. I'm like, my daughter hit her head. I don't have any ice to put on her head. You know, please, can I borrow some ice cubes? Like, I'll give them back to you later. Like, I'll make you ice cubes and bring them back. Just please, I need ice for my daughter's head. And I was like in a frantic panic pretty much at that point. So anyway, the guy gets out a big grocery bag, like one of the paper grocery bags, and he puts it up on his counter, and he gets the first ice cube tray out of his freezer, and, you know, like, he cracks it and stuff, and he's about to empty it in the bag. So as he was emptying it in the bag, his wife had come in, and then she went over to him and, like hit him with her hip, like, to push him out of the way. And she's like, "Get out of here. I'll take care of this." And then she's like, "What's going on?" And I told her. And it was just the way she did that was just so funny, because it's an elderly couple, and there she was, like, hipping him out of the way. So it was just, I mean, I can laugh about it now, but at the time I'm like in a frantic panic. So it was different as it was happening. But anyway, so I told her again frantically, like, my daughter hit her head. I have no ice, you know, please, can I borrow, like, as much ice as you have, because I have to make ice. And I said, I'll give it back to you. Same thing I said to her husband, and she's like, no, 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 just here, take this. I just hope your baby's okay. And so all the ice cubes that they had, they filled the brown paper bag that they had there for me. And, you know, I thanked them and everything, and I'm pretty sure I was, like, even crying because I was so frantic and stuff. So anyway, I ran back down to our house, and I just shoved, like, I got a baggie and just put like 4 or 5 ice cubes in it for her head, and I just shoved the whole paper bag into the freezer, which there was plenty of space because all of my food was gone out of there. So anyway, I shoved that in there, you know. I got a little towel thing to put over top of the ice. Anyway, I got it to put it on Sarah's head. So she finally had the ice on her head and stuff for a while, and she was okay. I mean, she wasn't still crying and screaming. I mean, that just happened, like, in the beginning and stuff when when she had first hit her head on that piece of wood. So anyway, after I had the ice on for a long enough time, you know, I laid her back down into her playpen, and I was gonna take the ice that's in that bag. And so what I did with it basically is I got other baggies and just made bunches of baggies out of the ice that my neighbors have given me. So there was a bunch of baggies of ice in the freezer now, and 4 empty ice cube trays. So I went over to the sink, I filled the ice cube trays and stuff, and I put them into the freezer. And again, the same way I always do, you know, one on top of the other, and, you know, there'll be 2 on the left and 2 on the right on the bottom part of the freezer. So anyway, I did forget this part. I did check in our refrigerator then too, to make sure, like, all of our food and drinks weren't gone from there too, because it was just the freakiest thing, like, totally unexpected anyway. So our fridge still had everything in it. It was just the top part, the freezer part, that didn't. So I put the ice cubes in and stuff. Anyway, later on, when it was time to put ice back on her head again, I just, you know, figured, okay, so I went, this is where it gets, I have to be honest. I was scared. I was really scared when this happened. And anyway, so I open up the freezer because I was going to get the ice out for her. And my ice cube trays, like I still had the baggies full from the ice that the neighbors gave me. But my ice cube trays, like the two bottom trays, with the ones that would have been on top of the bottom ones, were like, say, like 5 or 6 inches up in the air from the bottom trays. So now I'm like staring at this and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like getting like, this is insane. And here, well, because on the tops of each of those ice cubes, top trays and bottom trays, were these giant spikes of ice. Like some of them were straight up in the air, like 6 inches, like just straight up in the air. Some were straight up in the air, and then they would like curl over and had like a curl to them before the point. And the top trays were like that, and the bottom trays were like that. So that's why the trays were up in the air, because the bottom trays had these giant spikes and curled spikes, both straight and curled. They're kind of like it would remind me of like a stalactite in a cave. Like, it was insane. It was crazy. And it did scare me. And I've never seen anything like it before, like my entire life. So anyway, like I just grabbed one of the packs that I had bagged up from the neighbors, and I slammed the freezer door shut. I just wanted to actually get away from it because it like really scared me. And really what scared me, I think, the most out of all of it is because I like just thought like, oh, like God is so mad at me right now. Like he is just so angry because I didn't go to get that cup of milk that he told me to get. And that's how I felt. So I got Sarah, I had her on my lap, I'm putting the ice on her head, and then I'm calling the pastor's wife because I was really scared. And, I called her, I'm like, listen, can you please come over? I need you to come over. There's something going on. I think I really made God mad. I just really need you to come over. And she did. And she didn't live real far away. So it didn't take her real long to get here. And then when she got here, I'm like telling her about, God wanted me to go to the neighbors to borrow a cup of milk. I didn't want to do it. And I told her how I would felt, like how embarrassed it would have been, how cuckoo-ish I would have looked. And, because I had a whole gallon of milk here. So anyway, I go through the story with her. And then when I was done putting the ice on Sarah's head, I'm like, you have to see this. And we walked over to the freezer, and I said, go ahead and open it and just look inside. And she opened it, and she saw those ice cube trays with these giant spikes coming out of every ice cube, top and bottom. Like, the bottom tray is holding up the top tray because of the big spikes, and then she saw the straight spikes, the curled spikes. I mean, it was insane. And like she shut the freezer door, and the first thing she said to me, she's like, Sherry, that really looks demonic. Like, I really think it's demonic. I really don't think that God's angry at you. She said, but this really looks demonic. And I was just like, I think like I probably originally would have thought that, but with the situation that happened, I really felt that God was really disappointed in me, angry at me, and and really I should have just listened to him. I shouldn't have um felt that way. I should have just trusted that, if God wants me to do this, then I should really just do it. And and honestly, I really don't even, to this day, I don't even know the purpose of why he wanted me to go to my neighbor's house. Like, if I would have got the milk, for me, I believe Sarah would have never hit her head. I believe like that block of wood never would have been there, and I wouldn't have had to go up there for ice, and I don't think that would have happened to my ice cubes. I mean, it was just so crazy, and so for me, I believe that that was like, for whatever reason, that God really wanted me up there. Um, and maybe my neighbor wouldn't have said anything about the milk, like, do you don't have milk at home? Or, oh no, I have a gallon. I have a whole gallon there, but I want yours, to borrow your. Maybe she wouldn't have said anything, but I really felt that she would have. But really, I shouldn't have had that feeling of that, because I really feel like I shouldn't have been worried about that. But at the time it was happening, it was like a kind of like a big deal to me. Like, I can't do that. I can't, like, make myself look like a cuckoo bird and stuff. So, but it taught me, for after that, because, for many years, even after that, if I really felt that God wanted me to do something, or, I was more apt to do it. It was more easier for me to do it. I guess I didn't worry. Like, I guess I didn't really try to, like, plot out an outcome of it. Like, oh, well, if I do this, this person is going to think this, or, stuff like that. Because, again, I shouldn't have been worried about that to start with. And it taught me, it taught me to be, try to be as obedient as possible. And, and I know God has his reasons for things, and I believe that. So, like I said, for whatever reason he wanted me to go up there, um, I should have just went and just asked them if I could borrow a cup of milk, but I didn't. And, some, what I feel are consequences, like things that happen that I really don't believe would have happened. And to be honest, that's the only time that I have ever seen ice cubes like that in my life. Um, it's never happened since. Like I said, we've lived here like 30, almost, I guess, a couple weeks it'll be 30 years exact. So we've lived here almost 30 years, and never have my ice cubes have done that before then or after that. And I even tried a little experiment to do it in like where there's nothing in the freezer except my two ice cube trays, and two. Well, there's really four, but the two, and then they're on top of each other. So I did experiments like that, and nothing happened. There's no spikes. There's no long spikes, no curly spikes. I don't know what happened. I'm sure people will give a logical explanation, but like I said, really, that's never happened before, and it's never happened after. And I even tried, like I said, emptying it to see if it would happen again, and it just never did. And yeah, it was, pretty scary at the time. And, I just wanted to share that with you guys because, I don't know, maybe one of you guys, you know, God might end up putting you in a position or something where it might feel like, well, that would be kind of embarrassing, or that's going to make me look like a crazy person, or that. But if you 100% know it's God, don't worry about being embarrassed, and don't worry about if you're going to end up looking like a cuckoo bird in the end, because, you know, um, God uses us here on earth. We're here to do his work here. And, sometimes we might not understand it. And sometimes, we might not even ever know the answers of the why. Like, why did God have me do this? Why does God want me to do this? We may never know answers sometimes, but, we have to trust that God does, because, he's God. I mean, and I don't know, that's my story with that anyway. And, it was just crazy, you know. And Sarah was fine. I mean, you know, I had to take care of that lump for a few days. And with her, with the colobomas in her eyes, like the blue parts of her eyes and the pupils are like a teardrop shaped, but they're constantly dilated. Like her eyes are dilated 24/7, her pupils. So you can't even really look to see if, you know, she possibly got a concussion because her eyes are already dilated. But, you know, she didn't have any other signs of a concussion or anything either. So, you know, it's still all worked out. You know, it's still all worked out for the good. But, you know, like I said, you know, I probably, being it's been almost like 30 years, you know, I'll still probably never know what, you know, why, um, I was really supposed to go up there to borrow that cup of milk, you know. But anyway, that's my story. And then, thanks for listening. And, you know, that's what I'm doing on my YouTube, is like just making like different stories and stuff right now. I have some videos of my girls too. That's what I actually started with, just like making some videos of my girls. And now I just started doing like, you know, different stories even of my girls and stuff too. And of things with myself. And I even have like a little animal video, which is pretty cool. But anyway, all right. I hope everybody has a great day, a great night. And thanks for listening. And hope I'll make another video again soon. All right, guys. Bye.